Senator from Illinois.
Let me thank my colleague from Colorado. We've been engaged in this battle for immigration reform for years. He's a worthy ally, thoughtful, always looking for a solution. Senator Bennett, thank you for your commitment to this cause, your continuing commitment to this cause. In the midst of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln got so frustrated with General McClellan that he sent him a message. He couldn't get him to attack. He wouldn't do anything. And he said, General McClellan, if you're not going to use your army, can I use it? Can I borrow your army? So I'd like to say to the leaders of the House and Senate, if you're not going to use your Congress, can I borrow it for a minute? Can we fill up this empty chamber and actually have a real debate over a real bill to solve a real problem? I think that might be a worthy thing for us to do. In fact, I think that's what we're paid to do, isn't it? Didn't we swear to uphold this Constitution? Didn't we take this job on, this historic job on, with the goal of making America a better place? So September 5th, President Trump, along with Attorney General Sessions, eliminated the DACA program. This was a program that gave to almost 800,000 young people brought to the United States when they were little kids a chance to go to school, to work, to have a future in this country. They had to go through a criminal background check, turn over all their information, pay their taxes, all of the above, and for 2 years, they could operate in America. They weren't citizens, but they were legally in America. And so on September 5th, Senator Trump and Attorney General Sessions said, it's over. As of March 5th of 2018, no more. And then the president said, I challenge you, Congress, do something about it. Pass a law. That's been almost 4 months ago. What have we done in 4 months to address this problem that affects the lives of 800,000 DACA-protected young people? Nothing. Nothing. We're not using this Congress. General McClellan wasn't using the Army. Isn't it time that we do something? Wouldn't the American people be so pleasantly surprised if we did something on a bipartisan basis that solved a problem in America? I know my Republican colleagues are euphoric over their tax bill. 2 out of 3 Americans are not. I'm not. I'll put it aside for a minute. They spent a lot of time. They passed it. So be it. They did it on a strictly partisan basis. They had a right under the Senate rules to do it that way. They did it that way. This cannot be done on a strictly partisan basis. You can't fix the immigration system unless you engage both political parties in the solution. I'm lucky. I care about this. And I found some Republican senators who care just as much. Jeff Flake of Arizona announced his retirement. I'm sorry to see him go because he's a good person of good values. He stepped up and co-sponsored the DREAM Act that we're talking about here. I didn't even have to call him on the phone. I thanked him, and he said, it's the right thing to do. Lindsey Graham was my co-sponsor, Republican of South Carolina. Cory Gardner of Colorado, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. They stepped up and said it's the right thing to do for these young people to give them an opportunity to earn their way into legal status, to earn their way to citizenship. I thank them for that. We need 8 more. If we get 8 more, we'll have 12 Republicans out of the 52, and with 8 more, we're ready. We're ready to put 60 votes up when they call the roll. And with 60 votes in the Senate, you can get things done. So what has happened? What opportunities have we had in the almost 4 months since the president eliminated this program? None, not one. And Senator McConnell said to Senator Flake, when his vote on the tax bill was in doubt, I'll promise you that we'll bring this up in January, this coming January. Well, I can tell you that I read the promise very closely, and there are a lot of contingencies on there. I hope that Senator McConnell is going to give us our chance early in January to find out if we can come up with a bipartisan solution to this problem. And if you think that there aren't other Republicans who support this, 34 Republicans in the House of Representatives sent a letter to Speaker Paul Ryan and said, pass the Dreamer legislation this year. 34 Republicans. So we're not alone. And they're not the only ones. 11 governors yesterday, 11 of them, Republicans and Democrats, sent a letter to Congress calling on us to do this. The letter signed by Democratic governors from Minnesota, Montana, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Republican governors from Nevada, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Utah, and Alaska's independent governor. We're hearing from the business community. They want this done. They've seen these dreamers. They've seen these young people. They believe in them, and they want us to do something to help them. We've heard it from the labor organizations. We've heard it from the faith organizations. Across the board, 76% of the American people support what we are trying to do here. 76%. How many issues get 76%? The flag, I'll bet you even more, but not many others get 76% approval, including 61% of the Trump voters. They think it's the right thing to do. You know why? Because many of these people have met the dreamers. And when you come to know them and hear their story, you come to the conclusion, at least I do, for goodness sakes, these are extraordinary young people. Somehow or another, they have survived and even flourished in a country that doesn't recognize them as legal. They went to our schools, they pledged allegiance to our flag, and they sang the national anthem, and that's the country they know. Let me tell you about one before I turn the floor over to my colleague from Maryland. This young lady's name is Miriam Gonzalez. She's the 105th dreamer that I've told a story about on the floor. When she was 6 years old, her family brought her to the United States from Mexico, and she grew up near Los Angeles. She was a good student and a good athlete. High school, she played softball and golf, member of the Bible club, chemistry club, and reading club. She was an active volunteer in her community, including assisting teaching at the local elementary school, valedictorian of her high school class. Accepted at UCLA, majored in anthropology, and minored in classical civilization. Let me give a postscript here. If you're undocumented and go to college in America, you get no federal assistance, no Pell Grant, no federal loan. So you've got to earn the money. You've got to work jobs to do it. She did. She held down her jobs necessary, commuted to school from her parents' home, taking public transportation 2 hours each way every school day. She was involved in student groups, mentored students at Van Nuys High School, and encouraged them to go to college. She continued to excel academically, made the Dean's Honor Roll, and was awarded a certificate for her research at UCLA. Today, she's assisting students in low-income neighborhoods and schools. After graduation, she went to work with Teach for America. You know what that means? It means taking a job that doesn't pay hardly anything to teach in one of the most challenging schools in America. She did it. She taught 7th and 8th grade students in LA. She teaches 5 classes for students who are having trouble with math and reading, and she gives one-on-one tutoring. She's involved in the school's parent committee, trying to get the parents of these kids who need their helping hands to excel as well. She's a full-time graduate student at Loyola Marymount University pursuing a master's degree in education. I'm going to read her letter and then turn over the floor. Here's what she wrote to me. Every day for my first 2 months as a teacher, my students would ask me if I would be returning the next day, the next week, and the next month. And I would reassure them I was there to stay. Eventually, they began to trust me and believe that I was going to be there to support them. Now, students believe that I'm there for them and truly care about helping and preparing to succeed academically. My students have made huge improvements academically, and I'm particularly proud of how hard they all work. After hearing about the fate of DACA, she's talking about President Trump's abolishing DACA. After hearing about the fate of DACA, my students were worried that they'd lose me. I'll continue to reassure them that I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and I'll fight to be able to see them through to the finish of the school year. What's going to happen to her if we don't do what we're supposed to do? If we don't use this Senate and that House to solve this problem? What's going to happen to her and her students? Are we so busy? Do you notice it on the floor? Are we so busy that we can't take up a piece of legislation here, debate it, and pass it today? Before the end of the day, we're going to pass a measure to keep the government open and functioning for about 3 or 4 weeks. It's something that may pass the House. We'll find out later this afternoon. I'm troubled by it. It doesn't have one word in it to deal with this challenge, and we've known it for 4 months that it was coming and we had to do it. I'm going to be voting no on that, not because of the merits of the continuing resolution, but until we address this issue and take the time to use the Senate and use the House to solve this problem, I'm not going to be standing here and saying, I'm going home for Christmas. I don't know what's going to happen to Miriam. I don't know what's going to happen to 800,000 others. Get back to you later. It's time for us to know that the time is now for us to solve this problem. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
President.